In Formula One, all drivers use a fixed race number. This was introduced back in 2014 to increase the recognition of the drivers on the track for the fans. In previous years, the starting numbers were handed out based on the final ranking of the previous World Championship standings. Now, only the World Champion for the new season can choose to change his number. He gets to offer to replace the permanent number with the number 1. All other drivers must stick to their chosen number. Behind the choice of each number, there's a story for many drivers. It could be their lucky number, or they have special memories of that number. Here we'll look at all the numbers for the 2022 Formula One season and the explanations behind them. So, will Max Verstappen drive with the race number 1 in 2022? As reigning world champion, Max Verstappen has the right to choose the number 1 for the 2022 Formula One season. Immediately after winning the championship in the finale at Abu Dhabi, the Red Bull driver already announced that he will change his usual number from 33. I will indeed drive with number 1. You don't often have the chance to get to do that. Maybe it's my only chance. I think it's beautiful. I'm definitely going to stick it on the car. Earlier, he said that it's also interesting for marketing reasons because of the new merchandise line that can be developed. In 2014, Sebastian Vettel was the last driver to use the number 1. In subsequent years, the title went to Lewis Hamilton, who stuck to his number 44, or to Nico Rosberg. The German hung up his helmet immediately after his world title, and therefore no driver could use the number 1 in 2017. In the years before his first world title, Max Verstappen drove in Formula One with the number 3. Now, the story behind this choice is quite simple. In his youth, the Dutchman had the number 3 as a lucky number. He wanted to use it in F1, but the number was already taken by Daniel Ricciardo, so Verstappen then chose to use 33 for double happiness. As a kid, I raced around with this number, so I thought it would be fun to use number 33 in Formula One as well. At other times in his career, he's also driven with a number 3. While in the European Formula 3 Championship, Verstappen raced as number 30, and on his debut for Toro Rosso, he used 38. However, not every number is available for drivers to choose. Formula One drivers cannot pick to use the number 17. Jules Bianchi was using this number at the time of his serious accident at Suzuka in 2014. He later died from the injuries from that crash. As a tribute, the F1 organisation decided to withdraw this race number. Also, a driver who leaves F1 can still use his old number for up to 2 years in case of a possible comeback. So during this period, the number cannot be used by another driver. For example, Fernando Alonso could return after his absence of 2 seasons and choose number 14 again, which is why Alexander Albon will drive with the number 23 again this year. When a driver returns after a long absence, he must choose a new starting number. So, we know the reason why Max Verstappen chose the number 33, but what about the other drivers on the grid? McLaren F1 driver Daniel Ricciardo uses number 3. The Australian was a big fan of American racing legend Dale Earnhardt, multiple NASCAR champion in his youth. The American, who died on the 18th of February 2001, drove for a long time in the series with the number 3, and as a tribute, Ricciardo chose the same number. After his victory in the 2021 Italian Grand Prix, Ricciardo was rewarded with the ride in his idol's NASCAR. Lando Norris has given his McLaren the number 4, explaining the story is that there is no story. It just fits well with the hashtag L4NDO. It's not a number I've used in all racing classes. Norris is a big fan of MotoGP legend Valentino Rossi and considered using his number 46, but said he couldn't be a copycat, so opted for number 4. Aston Martin F1 driver Sebastian Vettel has chosen number 5. The German has had great successes in the past with this number. He won the 2001 European Karting Championship in the ICA Junior class on a kart bearing the number 5. He later learned about the nickname from F1 legend Nigel Red 5 Mansell. Also in 2010, he won his first Formula One title in the car bearing this number with Red Bull. In addition, the Roman designation of the number 5 is V, which in turn is the first letter of Vettel's surname. That 5 kept coming back everywhere, he said. The years in which he defended his world title, the German did take the number 1. Nicholas Latifi has raced with the number 6 since his Formula One entry at Williams. The number refers to his hometown of Toronto, nicknamed the 6. The nickname was made popular in recent years by rapper Drake. The city consists of 6 districts: Old Toronto, Scarborough, East York, North York, Etobicoke and York. And the area code for Toronto starts with a 6. Latifi also drove in 3 of his 4 Formula 2 seasons with 6, although that was a coincidence, as in junior single-seated classes, race numbers are still assigned based on the previous season's championship results. Nikita Mazepin uses 9. The Haas F1 driver was born in 1999, and earlier in his career he chose 99 whenever possible. However, that number was already in the hands of Antonio Giovinazzi, forcing him to opt for the single 9. AlphaTauri driver Pierre Gasly has 10. The Frenchman won the 2013 Formula Renault 2.0 Euro Cup with that number, and is also a big fan of footballer Zinedine Zidane, who played with the number 10 in the French team. Sergio Perez uses the number 11 on his car. The origin is not in motorsport, but in football. The Mexican is a big fan of Club America, especially of former player Ivor Zamorano. I liked how Bam Bam played, how he scored. I became a fan of his and decided to race with that number. To this day, I've always used 11 everywhere, right down to my email address. Alpine F1 driver Fernando Alonso uses 14. On the 14th of July 1999, at the age of 14, he became world champion in karting with the number 14. From that moment, I knew 14 was my number. Charles Leclerc competes in Formula 1 with the number 16. The Ferrari driver was born on the 16th of October 1997. His preference was initially for the lucky number 7, but that was already taken by Kimi Räikkönen. Next, Leclerc wanted 10, but that was already driven by his good friend Pierre Gasly. After some simple maths, he decided on 16, because 1 plus 6 is 7. Lance Stroll has fitted his Aston Martin with 18. In the early days of his career, he won the Italian Formula 4 Championship with this race number. Plus, shortly after his 18th birthday, he made his Formula 1 debut with Williams. A bit superstitious, but I like to hold on to little things that are important to me. I don't want to change them, said the Canadian. Alexander Albon returns to Formula 1 this year after a season's absence. He has to stick with the number 23, which he also used in the first phase of his F1 career. In the world of sports, this is an iconic number. Basketball players LeBron James and Michael Jordan played with this number, as did footballer David Beckham for a part of his career. Like Lando Norris, Albon is a big fan of Valentino Rossi. In his karting days, the British Thai raced with his 46, but decided to opt for half of that number in F1. Guan Yu Zhou, the only rookie on the Formula 1 grid in 2022, has opted for 24. This number was last used in 2012 by Timo Glock. The Chinese driver has chosen this number as a tribute to basketball legend Kobe Bryant, of whom he is a big fan. Bryant played his last years with the Lakers with the number 24. Esteban Ocon uses the 31. The Alpine F1 driver took his first title in karting with that number in 2007. He still considers that one of the best years of his career. He also drove his Formula 1 test debut in October 2014 in the service of Lotus with 31. Yuki Tsunoda opted for 22 for his F1 debut at AlphaTauri. The Japanese driver drove 11 in his early karting days and wanted to use that number in Formula 1 as well, but that start number is already occupied by Sergio Perez. Tsunoda simply doubled that number and ended up with 22. 7-time F1 champion Lewis Hamilton races with the number 44. Hamilton drove his first kart race with this number, but didn't know what race number to choose at the time. So he took the number from the license plate of his father's car, F44. With that number, he laid the foundation for his successful career and therefore wanted to use it in Formula 1. Even in the years where he was entitled to race with number 1 as world champion, he stuck to his 44. Mick Schumacher ended up with 47 due to a funny coincidence. The Haas F1 driver, son of 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher, preferred numbers 4 and 7. However, those were already occupied by Lando Norris and Kimi Räikkönen. With number 4, he won the 2018 European Formula 3 Championship title, while his father, Michael, has 7 F1 titles behind his name. And if you add up all the birthdays in our family, you get to 47 to complete the picture. Carlos Sainz has given his Ferrari number 55. The S of my first name is like a 5, and so is the S of my last name, so that makes number 55. Plus, the number 5 is his favourite number, but that was already taken by Sebastian Vettel, so that's how he reached 55. George Russell uses 63. My brother used to kart with the number 63, so this has become our family number ever since, he said. With some creativity, 63 can also be read as GR, which are the initials of the newly appointed Mercedes driver. Others see it as GB, which stands for Great Britain. Alfa Romeo newcomer Valtteri Bottas will race number 77. The Finn, like several other drivers, wanted the lucky number 7. However, this number was already taken by his compatriot Kimi Räikkönen. Bottas therefore chose 77, which he cleverly applied to his personal merchandise with the logo BO77AS. So there you have it. Some creative, some less so, and some a little odd, but now you know the story behind every number of each driver in Formula 1. Now, we must see if any of them can take the number 1 from Max Verstappen next season.